Look, you don't understand. There is a maniac trying to kill us. Welcome to New York.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Good Times with Bad Movies. I'm Tim Morrison, joined as always by my co-host, I'm on a boat, Paul Ireland. Paul, how you doing?
I'm pretty good today, Tim. Just, I'm actually kind of getting over a little bit of a cold here, but, you know, I'm also really excited, so I'm not going to let that get in the way of having fun tonight.
So this is the second episode for our Halloween month, and we chose Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. It came out in the summer of 1989, directed by Rob Hedden, distributed by Paramount Pictures, and it was the most expensive Friday the 13th movie to that date.
Really? Is that so? How much did this one cost, Tim?
All I could find was over $5 million. In 1989, that was a considerable amount.
I guess so, but considering, like, at this point, this is now the 8th movie. Man, I guess they really didn't spend a lot of money on these movies. But I'm guessing that's they made a ton of money on this too. So it was like, you know, maybe be as chintzy as you can with the budget, and you just make a ton of money at the box office.
And you consider that these movies were coming out almost on a yearly basis too. So you kind of have to have a cheap budget in order to keep up with that production.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they were just kind of like pumping these movies out in the 80s, right? Like, it seemed like this and Nightmare on Elm Street, they just hit like a fever pitch in the 80s. Something about the two of these guys, it's almost like Coke and Pepsi, just battling back and forth.
One of the reasons why this movie was so expensive is because they put a lot into the promotion for this movie. Like specifically posters of Jason slashing through I Love New York signs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard about that actually. You know, I heard that New York like campaigned against the movie because they thought it was going to give them a bad reputation.
Yeah. Tourism committee, they made them stop.
Yeah, but I think, you know, like, I mean, I'm not from New York. I didn't grow up in New York in the 80s, but I thought New York in the 80s, 70s, even the early 90s was kind of a rough place anyways, you would assume. So why would you be worried about this movie sullying your city's name? Like people know it's a movie, right? Like, come on. And I think we should mention just out front here too, at least like, I think it's safe to say on behalf of both of us here, this is probably not the worst installment in the Friday the 13th franchise.
No.
Personally, I think Jason X is the worst out of all of them. However, we definitely didn't want to sit here and have to watch that again and subject ourselves to watching that again. So we decided we would just pick Jason Takes Manhattan because this is pretty outrageous anyways. This whole movie and the premise of just moving away from Crystal Lake for a movie, maybe.
Yeah, so just another quick background thing. Like, this is also the first Jason movie that doesn't take place on Camp Crystal Lake. A portion of it does, but the majority of this movie is away from that old camp.
All right, so what do you say, Tim? We give everybody a little synopsis here.
We're just going to assume that everyone knows who Jason Voorhees is.
Yeah, if you don't know who Jason is, it's the big dude with the hockey mask.
A boat full of graduating high school students headed to Manhattan accidentally pulled Jason Voorhees along for the ride.
Okay, all right. That sounds pretty good to me. I think maybe we should just jump right into this. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's slash this. This movie starts out with a black fade-in of the New York City nightlife. And there's this awesome song that starts. What do you think about this, Paul? It's called The Darkest Side of the Night. And it's like, it's pure 80s soft rock, like mainstream stuff.
I love this song. The
darkest side of the night.
Oh man, this is such a wicked song here. And we're going over the city as we hear this awesome, just this smooth killer song.
So we're looking at Times Square and we see a advertisement for the new Batman movie.
Yes, 1989's Batman. That's right. It's Batman. It's Batman. Jason lives in the world of Batman, like our world, where we're going to see Batman.
Yeah.
Tim Burton is in Jason's world.
That's probably why he's going to Manhattan, because there's no movie theaters on Camp Crystal Lake. He wants to go see Batman. We see the title, Jason Takes Manhattan. And then we see a few bums, like kind of like goons, I guess, outside smoking. We see an alleyway. Everything looks so smoky and dingy. Man, you know, New York really must have been a kind of a not such a great place at all. There's any portrayals that you see of New York are just like awful.
It looks like a greasy hellhole.
Yeah, and then we see like this garbage container full of water and rats around it, and then this old diner where there's, it's 1989, so there's lots of smoke and stuff around. People are smoking inside in most diners then, especially in New York.
Yeah, there's like this person with an eye patch out there, so it's like, this is like a hard place.
Yeah, then we go to the subway train, and then to some dudes banging heroin in the alleyway. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, so hold on a second. Not that I want to focus on that, but like they seem to spend what seems to be an inordinate amount of time just looking at these guys. Like one guy's like tying himself off and he's getting ready to shoot up, and the other guy's just heating up a thing on a spoon, and they hold it for like 15 seconds. It's like a whole verse of the song goes by while these people are just making heroin. They're like, no, we want more of the heroin guys in the start of this. Just let them know there's a lot of people doing heroin in New York. Like, what the hell is going on here?
We end on a shot of the Statue of Liberty. It goes to black, and then we're like underwater, kind of like point of view, and we're like just reach the surface, and we are at Camp Crystal Lake. And we're seeing this little yacht kind of just float on by the camps. Looks like all the lights are on in the camps, but like you don't see people walking around or anything. But if you've seen any Friday the 13th movie, then you can probably guess what's coming next. We have two very, very horny teens.
Yep. Yeah, it's fair to say.
And while they're kind of touching each other and getting it on, we hear the radio give us some exposition on the movie, and he is saying that this next song, which is the song we've been listening to for the last 3 minutes, goes out to the graduating class here. And I can't remember if they actually say their name, like where they're from, but they're in Camp Crystal Lake.
They call the high school Lakeview High School, and it's Crystal Lake. I don't know why it wasn't Crystal Lake High or something. That to me would have been, that would have made sense. I don't know why they had to change that up and confuse the hell out of you at the start here, but yeah, they do that. And, I just want to say like real quick, I would be so pissed off if I was listening to this song and this guy just started talking over the song for like 30 seconds. What stop it?
The song that you just requested, yeah.
Yeah, right? And it's like while the guy's singing, he's just like, all right, this goes out to Lakeview High School coming down here to New York City. It's greasy and dangerous here. Don't come down unless you like heroin and get mugged.
So anyways, they drop the anchor because they want to hang out here in Camp Crystal Lake for a little bit. And this anchor that they drop, we see it hit the bottom of the lake. And I'm no boat enthusiast, but that anchor does not look like that's going to keep that boat from going anywhere at all. In fact, it's just dragging along and catches this it's an electrical wire that's under the lake, running under the lake. Is that what this is?
It looks like a cable that I'm assuming is like the power to this whole campsite. Maybe that's what I'm going to guess it does. And for some reason, it's just going across the lake like that. Yeah, that's right. You think though, like if people were dropping their boats around here in this lake though, that you would protect it. It just wouldn't be hanging out on the top of the water or on top of the sand haphazardly like that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't work at Crystal Lake.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense. But anyways, this anchor does in fact get hitched up on this electrical wire.
This anchor has dug into the cable enough that it's probably what you would kind of call it, like it's shorting out the wires. So it's probably dug into the wires, cut through the insulation. So maybe it's going across two of these phases here.
Right. However, nothing around them loses power. But an electrical current does get jolted out and zaps a nearby downed Jason Voorhees. He's buried under all this like lake rubble from the previous movie. And he's just laying there, presumably dead. But this jolt of energy, this jolt of electricity brings him back to life.
Yeah, and so maybe we should give a little bit of an explanation there as to why Jason is under the water there. Because he's actually crushed underneath a piece of a dock. And I'll just give a Cole's notes on that. Basically at the end of part 7, The New Blood, there is a girl named Tina, and she's got like psychic powers. And at the start of the movie, she accidentally killed her father, and then she also kind of accidentally revives Jason, and he comes out of the water after Tommy Jarvis, put him in chains in the last movie and put him under the water and set the whole place on fire. And but anyways, at the end of the movie, she summons her father, and her dad kind of comes out of the lake, and he pulls Jason down into the lake with him, and I guess he's just gone. That's it. That's how pretty much how the movie ends.
So now they're going back to fooling around. And we see these disgusting, greasy, gooey black hands like reaching up onto the rungs on the side of the boat to like hoist himself over and get on board. It's safe to assume that we are seeing Jason. This is him. He just got electrocuted and he's getting on the boat.
This whole movie, you're going to see like Jason is really wet. He's really gooey. He's really like slimy, I think is the best way to, like, I don't know why he's got all this slime on him. I guess he's been under the water for like a while now, but like, I was just thinking about that. Like, it's later, like through this entire movie, he is slimy and wet and gooey. And it must have sucked to be Kane Hodder in this movie. They're like, put this rotting, sweaty clothes on and just hang out for 12 hours. He's not getting Robert Downey Jr. money to do this movie, right? Just to put on clothes that are like, they look covered in slime. It's disgusting. It's gross. And he just, like, I mean, hats off to him. He is committed to just fake murdering people on screen.
He reminds me of the Toxic Avenger a little bit.
A little, yeah. A little gooey goalie. So this guy, I think his name is Jim, and her name is Susie. This guy actually kind of, to me, looked like a little bit like a Jim Morrison. I was like, he does look like a Jim. So they're Jim and Susie are fooling around, and Jason Voorhees just kind of walks in now, and he's got like a spear gun or something. And so obviously he's going to murder these two people. We're going to find out in a second here. But I just want to touch on this because it seemed to be like a theme in this movie where people just see him in this movie and just stand there and wait to be murdered. It seemed like in the other movies, like they kind of ran away and maybe the car didn't start up or they tripped and fell or, you know, like something like the door was locked. But in this movie, there's a lot of times where you see like they just stand there and they're just like, oh no. And then he just kind of lumbers up to them and like he'll stab them. And that's kind of what happens here.
The lead ups to all of their deaths, it's very, very suspenseful. Like, you see Jason, like he's not even. This is one of the movies where I think you see Jason so much more. Like before, he was kind of popping out from the trees, and like in the finale, you'd see him walking around a lot. But in this one, you just straight up you're seeing Jason play hide and seek with this girl. Jason
shoots a spear gun at them. The girl runs away, and then Jim Morrison just turns around and he just stands there and he's like, oh, and then Jason just stabs him. So that's over. Then Jason walks outside and he just kind of slowly walks up to the door and he's like, oh, I bet there's probably a person in there. And he opens it. And of course, there's a person in there. And it's Susie. And she's just sitting there going, oh, no. And it's not even like he stabs her quickly or it's a cutaway or whatever. It's just like he on purpose, like slowly towards the camera, moves this harpoon very, very, very slowly at her. And then he kind of like stabs her at the end. Like she's like a mouse or something. He's like, gotcha.
It's slower than the claw machine, like where you win prizes.
Yeah, that's a very good explanation for that.
So we fast forward to the next morning, and we are seeing the principal of this graduating class, and who's this? Like one of his other teachers, cohorts?
Yeah, so the principal, I think his name is Charles. I forget his last name, but I mean, to me, this guy's pretty much Principal Skinner. There's a lot of people in this movie, so I think we should just shorthand some of this so we don't get confused. Maybe other people don't get confused. We go back and forth. So to me, this guy is Principal Skinner. And I made some notes on some people here, and I wrote I think he's a principal. I think he's actually a teacher, but to me, he's a principal, and he's a buzzkill, and he's a total knob. And I think he's uncle to one of the women that we're going to meet in this movie in a second here.
He looks like Dracula.
Kinda, yeah.
So we're introduced to our main character here, and she is showing up with this female teacher. We basically just get some exposition about how valued Rennie is and how great she thinks it is that she came on this boat ride, because we find out that Rennie has aquaphobia. She is terrified of the water because of an experience that she had when she was young that we don't really know because she doesn't know. She seems like she can't remember it.
That's correct. She does not remember what happened. There was something that happened and it traumatized her, and she doesn't remember that. So she's really scared. And yeah, she's a student in this lady, Colleen. Her name is Miss Van Dusen. She's a student in her class, I guess. And I think she's a writer or something. And she's remarked how she's doing such a good job. And she gives her a pen that was apparently owned by Stephen King at one point too.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Stephen King probably wrote most of his books on a typewriter, but sure.
Maybe the pen is actually owned by someone named Stephen King, but it's not Stephen King, you know what I mean? Like maybe it's with like a V instead of a PH, like in Seinfeld. Like when George...
Like on John Voight?
Yeah, George got sold to LeBaron, joined John Voight's LeBaron, right? Just driving around in John Voight's car. So this is Stephen King's pen, but it's not the Stephen King. This is like Stephen King, the tire guy or something in town, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, Colleen has brought Rennie to the boat, and she wants her to go on this graduating trip with the whole class and have fun and get over her fear of water. And again, that guy, Principal Skinner, this guy, Charles, he is there and he doesn't think it's a good idea because he mentions that he is Rennie's uncle and her legal guardian. But, you know, they kind of say, like, get over it, bud. We're coming on the ship. So he begrudgingly lets her come on the ship and they hang out. So now we're going to go to, I guess this is like I don't know what you call it. I don't know stuff about boats, but wherever the captain sits, wherever the captain is, and they drive the boat, whatever that's called, folks, the cockpit of the boat. That's what I'm calling it. So we're in the boat cockpit, and there's a captain here. Honestly, I don't even really remember if they said his name or not. This captain, he's got a son in here, and his name is Sean. And Sean is Rennie's love interest, okay? And he is also, I guess, I don't know if he's an apprentice, what you call it, but he's studying to be a captain at some point, right? Like he can drive a boat sort of a little bit here. And his dad is kind of quizzing him a bit, and he was like, hey, he gives him, I think it's called a sextant. It's like a little compass thing that you help apparently navigate maps and stuff.
GPS in 1989.
Yeah, I don't know anything about boats, so it's something for boat people, and boat people use it. So he uses this boat toy, and so his dad's like, hey, why don't you use your new boat toy and take us out of here, and let's you can drive your friends to New York. Won't that be so cool? And so he's like, okay, Dad, okay, let's do this. He starts making all these calls out, and his dad kind of grills him, and he's just like, you gotta call ahead and let people know that you're leaving the harbor. He basically corrects him, and sort of vibe checks him a little bit, right? And it seems like his dad is a little harsh on him, and he's really harping on him, I guess, to really drive this boat, it seems like. So Sean gets frustrated, and he leaves. We cut to a shot now where, again, we're going to see a greasy yellow hockey mask Jason he just pulls himself up board of this ship. For whatever reason, he's decided this ship looks pretty cool, and he pulls himself up this boat. And I guess you're to believe that he is on this ship now.
So the Lazarus is sailing off, and they are having a disco party.
Yeah, there's people throwing streamers, and they're playing shuffleboard out front, and it seems like there's only maybe 20 people on board. And this is supposed to be the graduating class of a high school.
20 people, including like the captain and the deckhand and like the principal and the other people. Yeah, I would say there's like 12 students.
Right? There's like 20 people in the class, 2 of which were murdered the day before, okay? We're only going to basically hang out with maybe like 5-6 people this entire movie too.
1989 wasn't like a great year for Lakeview High School.
But this boat too, it's like, this is supposed to be like a cruise. It's supposed to be like a party cruise or something, right? Too. This thing looks like it's a freighter, okay?
Yeah, this is like a giant fishing boat, and it looks like they just rented a fishing boat and decorated a couple rooms. Like they turned like maybe their little community hall into a mini disco, because there's nothing else on this cruise, quote unquote cruise. Like there's nothing else on it that says to me that this is a party or like some kind of a fun cruise for graduating. Like to me, this is like the equivalent of like instead of getting a party bus, you just like jumped on the back of a train.
It's like 20 people in this graduating class are like, we're not going to spring for the nice boat.
So now we're going to meet JJ. She is kind of like an Elvira looking rock star. She's like she wants to be a glam rocker. Yeah,
kind of. She's kind of got that, I don't know what you call it, like Joan Jett kind of thing, maybe like Kiss in the 80s going on there. She's got, just a leather jacket and the cool hot pink Flying V. It looks pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah, I like that guitar.
Yeah, she's out there just ripping. She's playing her act. She's doing really good. And there's this guy, his name's Wayne. This guy's like kind of like Quentin Tarantino. He's a camera nerd. And what you need to know about him later on is he is really hot for this other girl. But he is also JJ's friend, and he's filming her play guitar. So JJ's like, hey, like, let's go downstairs. There's this one area where I think it's going to have this cool, like, echo sound. And he's like, I'll do that for you later. I got to go check on this girl, Tamara, because he's hot for Tamara. And this girl, Tamara, we're going to meet in a little bit. She's basically a horrible person. So
yeah, that's her kid. That's her character trait.
Yeah, and JJ's walking around with her guitar, and we're just you kind of see an ominous shot of a foot that's really greasy and probably has some seaweed on it. So you kind of think Jason's in the area.
So now we're in a room, like in down deep into the boat, that I would say is like an engine room.
We're in the guts of this place, that's for sure.
JJ is playing down here, deep into the guts of the boat, all around like the equipment room and stuff. And we see Jason just walking down the stairs, casually walking down the stairs behind her. This is kind of like what we said just a little bit ago. Like, there's no mystery here. Like, we just see Jason, we're like, okay, he's going down the stairs. He's going. This lasts for like a solid 30 seconds. And then he gets close to her, close enough that she kind of, the corner of her eye, she sees him and she starts screaming. So JJ manages to outrun Jason by just quickly jumping down these different stairs and running down different gates. And she's obviously getting really far away from him. She gets to the very bottom of this giant dark room, and he's just there in front of her. Like, he just teleported directly in front of her. Jason can teleport now, and he beats her in the head with a guitar.
Yeah, like probably like 3 flights of stairs. He just teleports down in a matter of about 4 seconds. And he just waits for her and baseball bat clubs her with the guitar. And that's it. Lights out.
It makes me wonder why there's all these shots of the slow movements of watching him sneak up on people.
Yeah, I don't. That's so weird. I think this has got to be one of the first times they started doing something like that. I mean, there's other movies where he just kind of shows up out of nowhere a little bit. But this one, it's like there's a couple of spots where you're like, you can't move that fast without teleporting. Like, you can't.
So now we're in Rennie's room, and she's just kind of like doing her hair and stuff. And outside, we see Jason's like peeking in at her. But when she turns around and looks at this, this window of the boat, she kind of like hallucinates a little bit and sees a young Jason Voorhees, like as a kid, like beating on the window because he's drowning and he needs help. And like, what is the deal with this?
I was kind of hoping you had something on this, because this is confusing, because we're going to see this shows up. Like, this happens quite a few times in this movie where there's like this young, it's like baby sloth from the Goonies. This kid kind of shows up and pounds on her window, and you can see that he's underwater, even though they're not. And she freaks out. And for some reason, the dog also reacts and he runs away. So can the dog see this hallucination too? Like, I didn't understand that part.
Yeah, no, I there's really not much to that other than that, like, when they wrote this movie, there was 2 different scripts. And they liked the Jason Takes Manhattan more, and they combined elements from the first one. But even that still doesn't really explain this.
Yeah, like, why you had to shoot that? It's not like you had 2 movies and you spliced them together. Like, you just shot that. You had one script and you shot that. You're like, let's put in this non sequitur about her seeing a drowning kid the whole time. I mean, like, they kind of explain it later, but it doesn't really make any sense. The whole plot point of this doesn't make any sense.
Now we cut to all the boys getting rowdy in the locker room, and they're boxing because that's what you do on Safegrad or whatever this trip is. Why they're so excited to go to New York, and they are here. They're boxing.
A fight club has just broken out in the middle of a grad trip. Like, they were like, "Hey, bring your boxing gloves because we're gonna totally have a fight club on this boat when we go." The one guy, his name is Julius, and he's kind of beating up this other guy. And we also see at the top, there's 2 girls looking in, and they're kind of checking out the guys. And the one girl is Tamara, and that's who this nerdy Quentin Tarantino Wayne guy is in love with. And again, she's a horrible person.
She's awful.
Yeah, and she's just using Wayne. We'll see later on. And she's got a friend, and her name is Eva. And that's basically it. Like, to me, her defining characteristic is she's Tamara's friend. That's about it.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of meet these characters. And anyways, I guess there's one point to this where Principal Skinner is coming by and he sees this horrible girl, Tamara, and he's like, you better have your biology project because you were supposed to hand it in, and I've let you come on this trip, but I'm not going to let you get off the boat or something. Like, if you don't give me this biology project. It's like, did she's doing her homework on the boat, or she just brought this with her? Like, what?
He tells her that he's going to call her parents. So, like, what are you talking about? It's like, she's like barely graduated, and he brought her on this trip.
You're going to call her parents from the middle of the lake in 1989. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right, yeah, but yeah, so she threatens her, and he says, you better have this project or whatever. Meanwhile, the guy that Julius was boxing earlier, he, after he got his ass whooped there, he decides he's going to go hang out in the sauna for a little bit and just put a towel over his face and leave himself completely vulnerable. And this being a horror movie, we kind of know where this is going. because, Jason walks in and this guy seems to think it's Julius, and Jason sort of puts a hot rock right in his gut. And that's it. That's enough to kill him, apparently. And his stomach catches fire too, which I don't know if that's would happen, but
I guess if the rock is hot enough. But I don't know. That it seemed pretty over the top. Like as soon as it was dropped on his stomach, it's almost like his stomach blew up on the inside.
There's a lot of kills that happen in horror movies where you're like, would that really kill him right away? I think that would just leave him severely wounded, and he would have been like, help. It would have been again like Mustafa in Austin Powers. He'd just been like, I'm badly burnt. Somebody please help me. It's beginning to smell like almonds.
So now we're back to Tamara. She knows that her biology paper is due within an hour or two because the principal is going to be coming to her room, as he does. And when he comes into her room, she's clearly ready to seduce him.
You're right. Tamara is about to disrobe in front of Charles here, Principal Skinner, and show him her biology project. And here's his initial reaction.
Hey. Hey.
Hey. He just kind of seems to reluctantly go along with it. He's like, hey, stop that now. He's kind of like disinterestedly fighting it, like, oh, no, don't do that. Don't get naked.
Well, by the time he does actually shove her off, and he doesn't shove her off, he just says, hey, stop, I'm your teacher. And no sooner... the guy who was shooting JJ's music video, he comes out of the closet and he's been filming the whole thing to set this principal up so that she can get away with not having to pass him this biology project. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it seems like she's going to use this to potentially blackmail him, I guess, to get a passing grade. It's like, you could have just done your biology project.
Yeah, over a biology project. I mean, you're on vacation, you're going to New York. You've got 6 hours, 10 hours before you make it to New York. Yeah. So he says that we'll talk about this later, and she seems quite happy with her work.
And Wayne at this point, he's kind of hey, he kind of breaks down to Tamara because he's a weasel, and he's like, hey, I've got the hots for you. And she's like, yeah, not gonna happen, bud. Peace out. Because again, she is a horrible person. And so he walks out of the room and realizes he's an idiot. And as he leaves, Jason pops his head out because, again, they're just not hiding the ball in this one.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he just peeks out. There's not even any kind of scary music to chime in, for a suspense or anything. You just see him pop his head out like a bird.
Yeah, he's like, oh, is he gone? All right, I'm good.
Yeah, he's like, okay, cool. I can come down the hall now.
Yeah, was he just hiding behind the door that whole time, just waiting for this guy Wayne to leave? It's like, come on, Wayne, let's go. Get out of here. Sitting there tapping his foot at one point, geez, get out of here, loser. She doesn't like you.
I have a quick question while we're on this. Why is Jason hiding? Why is he doing this much hiding?
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're out in the middle of the water, right? You think at this point, again, there's 4 crew members. Jason could just walk through everybody and just snap everyone's neck. This movie would be over in 40 minutes. But he doesn't. He's just playing hide and seek. Maybe he's having fun.
It's the first time he's gotten away from Camp Crystal Lake in probably 30 or 40 years.
He's taking a vacation. That's right. He's taking it slow. He's out there on the shuffleboard court in his sandals and stuff. Hey, how are you guys doing?
He's still a child at heart. He wants to play a little bit of hide and go seek. So Tamara here, she's back in her room in a bathroom or something here, and she's about to walk out the door, and her and Jason happen to both peek out the door at the same time. Isn't that ridiculous? So anyway, then she closes the door. She backs into the room and closes the door and puts her ear next to the door to listen. And Jason's hand comes bursting through the door and grabs her by the hair and throws her at the mirror.
So this is so ridiculous here. What happens here with this girl Tamara or however the hell you say your name? Again, we just need to sort of do this in real time so you can see again how useless this character is in this movie. So what's going to happen here is Tim is going to walk you through as Jason bursts into the door and attacks Tamara.
Tamara falls on the floor, and now she's in the corner of the shower, and Jason Voorhees is walking into the room. Jason smashes a mirror. More. Jason picks up a mirror shard. Tamara is still in the corner screaming. still in the corner screaming. Jason is walking towards her. Tamara is in denial. She could still be moving right now. There. Now Tamara is gone.
She was okay. So he walked through the door, walked to the other side of the bathroom. She was on the side where the door was. It was like 3 feet away from her. I don't know how many steamboats that was, but that was more than enough time for her to get the hell out of there.
Some of that stuff to me just feels like lazy writing.
Yeah, it's just like they're like, well, we need to kill this person, so you can just stay in there and die. That's what's going to happen here. That's your motivation.
A lot of people need to die on the way to New York. You know, I'm looking forward to getting to New York, but we still got a little bit more of a boat ride to go.
So it looks like the captain and his first mate, second mate, whatever this is, best guy, best friend, that drives the boat with him in the cockpit there. They're at the helm. They're hanging out, and so the captain's like, "Hey, Captain Highliner, whatever your name is, get over here and you can drive the boat for a second, bud." So he goes, I don't know what he's doing, taking a leak, having a smoke, grabbing a Snickers. He's doing something. He leaves, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, Jason shows up and kind of spears the one guy. Quietly, you just kind of see it. He just dies, so he's dead. And all of a sudden, the captain comes in and he just sees this guy basically harpooned in the back, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And then Jason just shows up slowly. It goes into the slow-mo mode, and I don't know if you noticed this too, but Jason obviously has a classic machete. That's like his go-to weapon. And he goes to cut this guy's throat really slowly. But when they showed it, like, and again, like I'm don't know anything about machetes, knives. I'm not like a huge outdoor specialist. I don't know these things. Like, I thought there was always a dull end to the machete, right? It seems like there's a blade on one end because he cuts him with the back end of this machete and somehow like cuts his throat. And this captain's like dead now. To me, that's like a movie mistake. But again, I don't know stuff about knives. I'm not a knife guy. I'm not a boat person or a knife guy. You're gonna find out.
I'll give it its fair due that maybe it is some kind of a fishing knife, because this movie. Well, I mean, he's using harpoon guns and stuff. They're really on like a fishing theme here with Jason. So
what happens next is Sean and Rennie show up and they find the captain. It seems like Jason's just for some reason just posed this captain now against the boat. He's like, he wants to like fake him out. It's almost like he's doing a Ferris Bueller's Day Off kind of thing. And he's just posing this captain here just so he would fake you out. And, they all of a sudden they realize, that Sean's dad's dead. This other guy's harpooned and they freak out. And all of a sudden Sean picks up the little intercom and he tells everybody to get up to the top of the boat, the engine room, the cockpit, whatever it's called. So everyone goes up and they all meet on this bridge now, including Principal Skinner.
The first thing I have to point out is like how Sean seems pretty unfazed in regards to his father just being killed. Like, he seems pretty calm. And Rennie here is also kind of like freaking out. She thinks that she's hallucinating and she thinks that Jason might be on board.
So what happens is Sean is trying to radio out for some help and trying to get somebody, reach out to somebody and let them know that something's going on the boat here. So a couple people are dead at the very least. And we see Jason outside and I guess he rips the wires to the radio out. It just rips it off. So now they've got no communication, no outside connection. So again, this being a horror movie, they all decide, hey, what if we just split up and we'll all just go in different places, even though there's some murder on the boat. And maybe even one of us could be the murderer because we don't know what's going on here right now. We're all just going to become really vulnerable and we'll all just go to different parts of this really big boat.
Meanwhile, Eva, the friend of Tamara, she is running down the hall and she sees Jason. So she runs the other way and she runs upstairs through some doors and into the homemade disco for the graduation party. And it is going loud and it's as if people were in there partying, but there's nobody else there.
So this whole disco thing is very disorienting, and I think it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to put you off kilter because when she runs into this room, there's the floor, it's like strobing out like it's Saturday Night Fever, and there's a disco ball going, and then there's all these other little LED twinkly lights going on too, and lights spin around it. So there's a lot of flashing, spinny lights going on, and there's this weird music playing, okay? And I don't know if you noticed this, but to me this sounded like this was like some sort of failed WWE intro. music. Like, that's what it sounded like. This whole thing, it was really bad. You know, I'd be like, and in this corner, the reject. That's like just a really crappy wrestler. Like maybe Mantar or something would come out to this horrible music. Like it's supposed to be rock kind of shred music, but it's really not. And like really bad keyboard that sounds like kind of out of tune. The whole thing is just, it's so weird.
Yeah, and it's even more disorienting for her because she's just standing there in the middle, spinning around in circles. Like, she is actually just standing there, twirling around, basically being, like, overstimulated by all these lights and stuff. And, like, when she stops, she looks to her left, and Jason is there. Then she looks to her right, and Jason's there. To her front, he's there. And then he's nowhere's around, so she's just, like, sitting there circling around again. And Jason just kind of appears to her left and proceeds to kill her.
He strangles her.
Yeah, he strangles her to death.
Yeah, he kind of like Chris Angel mind freaked her. He was just like teleporting all over the place, and then he just teleports beside her.
Yeah. Once you start like setting precedents like that, it just makes you question everything that came before it and after. From this point, it's like, why is he sneaking around so much if he can just teleport like that? I can't get over that.
So Quentin Tarantino is walking around the bowels of the ship here. And for some reason, okay, this guy Wayne, he's got glasses. He's walking around with his camera. Okay, there's somebody on this boat who is actively murdering people. You just saw someone take a gun. You also took a shotgun. Okay, this guy Wayne is walking around with a shotgun, and he is just looking through his camera. Okay, he just decides he's going to just film his way through this whole experience. And then at some point here, he walks past this valve, and there's this steam shoots out, and it knocks his glasses off. Okay, so now he's blind. So now he's walking through. Now he really needs to use his camera. He didn't use it the first time like an idiot, but now he's using it, okay? So he's essentially blind walking through. And all of a sudden, just like this figure just walks out in front of him with their arms open, just kind of steps out of nowhere like it was like a little pop-out object, and with his hands up, and Wayne just shoots at this guy. He doesn't know, he can't see this person. To me, you can see pretty much this is not Jason, but he just blasts this guy, okay? He zooms the camera and realizes it's just a deckhand, okay? One of the only two other people other than the captain and the admiral who are dead who work on this boat. So basically 3 people that work on this boat are now dead. Okay, he shot this guy and he doesn't even like have any remorse. He just kind of like, oh, all right, that's not Jason.
Yeah, moving along.
Yeah, yeah, and then he just turns around and walks away. And then all of a sudden Jason just comes out of nowhere and Jason just stands in front of him. So he runs away and Jason just kind of teleports in front of him again. And he grabs this guy, Wayne, and just throws him onto this like control board, which it just explodes for some reason. You think just a couple buttons would get messed up or like something would get broken, maybe a cracked screen or something. But apparently this whole thing just like explodes and it electrocutes this guy, Wayne, and it causes a giant fire now. Okay, so the sprinklers are going.
Yeah, there's a fire on the boat now.
Yeah, there's like a fire going. There's like, you can see there's like a fuel container there. So like there's a bunch of bad stuff that's about to happen here. And like, it seems like Jason, being a really nice guy here, just breaks the fire alarm and pulls it for the guys. And he's like, hey, you better get out of the boat. There's a fire.
Yeah, I was wondering that. Why would Jason pull the fire alarm? What is the logic behind that?
Right? Yeah, it's like, why do you really care about everyone's safety on this? Like, hey guys, you should know there's he just murdered this guy. Like, hey, I had a bit of an accident down here. My bad. Let you know. You should probably get off the boat. Again, meanwhile, if this couldn't get any more confusing, Rennie is in her cabin now because Principal Skinner locked her away because he doesn't want her getting any more trouble. And, you know, she goes to her little porthole because she thought she heard a weird noise. And all of a sudden, just Jason busts through. And she uses her little Stephen King pen, probably not the real Stephen King, but fake Stephen King pen. And she stabs him in the eye. And while this is all going on, like, again, like Baby Sloth shows up out of nowhere. But this time he's like covered in slime. And he's like doing like gang signs or something, it looks like, and shivering. And he just stands there and he says, help me. And he just kind of disappears.
Yeah, it's weird. He's like covered in mutagen, like from the Ninja Turtles ooze. It's gross.
Yeah, or boogers or something. Like, it didn't make any sense. It's gross what's going on here. And so Sean just all of a sudden bursts into the cabin door and he grabs Rennie and they kind of book it out now. And they realize that the ship is taking on water. So Sean and Rennie, they go running around the corner and they see that all this water is just coming towards them now. So they kind of get swept away a bit there. And Sean's able to pick up Rennie and help her help her get up and survive the little onrush of water. And they get out of there and they meet up with Principal Skinner and they meet up with the other teacher, Miss Van Dusen. And they also meet up with Julius. He survived as well, too. So they get onto the lifeboat. And actually, they also find the little dog, Toby. Little Toby boy, he shows up too, and he's safe.
That's good. A little bit of good news.
Yeah, you can't kill a dog in the horror movie, okay? You can kill all the teenagers you want, but you leave the dog alone, okay? He's a good boy. He didn't do nothing.
So we're about like 3/4 of the way through the movie. We're still not at New York. It's starting to look like they're never going to get to New York. They're just in these life rafts together, and it's foggy all around, and they're wearing life jackets. And yeah, they're just trying to figure out where they are, rowing aimlessly. Basically, it kind of goes into more nighttime until out of nowhere, they're just like, oh, look, there's a Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, you're right. They just kind of floated in a direction. It's not even like they're like, which way is south or north or like, I mean, they just get into a boat and just start kind of paddling out of there. And you're right. I mean, so just to refresh you guys, we're about an hour in, and I don't know, an hour and like 2-3 minutes into this movie. This is a movie that's also called Jason Takes Manhattan. Okay. You would think this movie would mostly take place in New York. But this to me, this is like, you know, the Jurassic Park 2, okay? When they go to the island and then you're like, wow, we've been to this island. We've been chasing these dinosaurs around. This is like pretty good. Like they're going to end this, right? And all of a sudden you just end up in San Diego with a T-Rex walking through a backyard for like another 25 minutes. That's pretty much what this movie is.
This should have been called Jason Takes a Boat. Like really though, like this it's all on a boat. So these 4 survivors are super happy that they've arrived in New York. They're finally at their destination. Here's Julius. Here's how happy he is.
Check it out! Damn, we're in New York! You did it, man, you did it! We are in New York City!
You know, like 17 people just died. Like, it's like he's still excited to like go on vacation. Like, it's like, yes, we made it. We're still going to be able to continue this trip. This is awesome. Sweet.
I get to go to Times Square. This is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just so excited. This is great. This is great. We managed to save this trip, guys.
You're right. I think he might just be happy that they found land. But yeah, it kind of seems like he's like, oh my God, we're actually in New York. This is crazy. So they get to land. They get off in this little greasy little harbor. They walk away. All of a sudden, Jason just comes up out of the water. He's apparently just, I guess he's done like the Pirates of the Caribbean kind of thing and just walked across the bottom of this lake, river, this body of water, whatever this is. And he just walked across the bottom.
Well, he was just on the bottom walking, looking up at this rowboat, right? So he was just following the rowboat? I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of like almost like think like he was like dragging behind them or something. Like that's what it seemed like. But I don't know. Maybe he's like Aquaman and he just caught a riding like a dolphin. I don't really know. They don't really explain that, but somehow he's able to keep up with these people. And so he is just basically surfaced up to the water. So the other guys, they're walking around, I guess, through this back little shipping yard here, or wherever this is. And again, I guess this is supposed to be the people that we saw in the start of this movie who were just banging heroin for like 3 minutes on camera. And they've got a gun now. The one guy's dressed like a pirate, I guess. And the other guy's got a leather jacket on and they got guns and they basically kidnap Rennie in this movie. They just in 2 seconds walk away with this girl now. And they're like, don't follow us or we're going to shoot her. Okay. And again, being a horror movie and this guy, you know, Principal Skinner being in charge here, just being a complete knob. He's just like, let's all split up.
Yeah.
This girl got like, we're being chased by a serial killer. And this girl got kidnapped at gunpoint. Let's all split up.
Yeah. And they split up by themselves. They don't even go into twos, right?
Yeah. They just basically all leave. It's like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Julius here, I just have to acknowledge his tracksuit. It looks like it looks like Super Dave Osborne's suit that he wears.
Kind of. It looks like a Pepsi outfit or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is a pretty weird and wild scene. Okay, so the pirate and the biker guy, they stole Rennie. Okay, so they've dragged her down some alley where they've got some dirty old couch set up, and they hold her down, and they basically inject her with, I guess it again supposed to be this heroin that they were shooting up at the start here, which to me looks like the goo from the Reanimator, the stuff that the guy was using to like, it's like, this is like green. Okay.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
This whole scene is gross. So they like hold her down and forcibly like dose her up. So this is pretty wild.
They needle injector. Yeah, that's dark.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a fun, like slasher teen movie, and they just hold this girl down and they inject her with this heroin stuff, and they're now going to, this guy is going to do some pretty horrible stuff to her on a couch, which, you can pretty much gather that out of there. So, as it's about to go down, all of a sudden, Jason just shows up and just stabs this guy with a needle, just like right through the gut, okay? And this guy like falls on Rennie, and she's like trying to get out of this whole thing, and this guy's gone all basically Weekend at Bernie's limp on her. And all of a sudden, the pirate guy shows up now, and he's like, what the hell is going on here? And he tries to shoot Jason, okay? He just shoots this guy like 6 times. Obviously, it's Jason. Nothing happens here, and he takes off, and Jason just takes off after him. And so, like I said, this guy's all Weekend at Bernie's on this girl, and Rennie just pushes him off her and just tries to take off the other way. And Jason basically takes this pirate guy's head and just smashes it off a pole, and he's out.
Rennie seems to run away before the drugs seem to take effect. And during that time, Jason spots Julius. So he runs away for a little bit and then attempts to he decides to climb on top of the roof of this giant building. Like he goes up like the escape ladder or whatever. So Julius is like, he's a proud boxer, and he decides that he's going to box Jason, and he punches Jason like, I don't know, like 20 times. And Jason's just taking it. He's just like, yeah, take your best shot kind of thing. And Julius is so tired out that he's like, all right, man, you give me your best shot. And Jason winds up and punches his head off, and it goes like flying off the side of the building and bounces off the roof and then into a garbage can on the other side. And as far as like cheesy kills and stuff like that, this is probably one of the best in the whole series.
This scene and like this scene and one other scene that comes up here in a minute. There's like the 2 reasons I always watch this. I'm like just waiting for these moments to happen. This is like so funny because you're right. This is like basically Jason's like Homer Simpson. He just lets this guy box himself out till he's completely gassed. He is so winded. He's got nothing left, but he's just standing there. And this guy basically just like Hadoukens his head right off. It's over. And it rolls down like a perfectly set up ramp into this little garbage can. It's like one of those, whatever that YouTube channel Dude Perfect is, or whatever it's called, where they like make trick shots with balls. That's kind of what this was with this guy's head.
So meanwhile, Rennie is running down this alleyway, and the drugs are starting to take effect. Her vision is getting very blurry, and she manages to meet up with Sean and Principal Skinner and the other chaperone, the girl there, Colleen. And they managed to flag down a police officer. So this police guy is like, here, come into my car. So all 4 of them get in back of this police car. It seems kind of odd to me. I think that he would like maybe ask some questions or something first, but he puts all 4 of them in the back of his police car. While he's doing that, when he turns the light on in his car, they see Julius's head is like just sticking there in like the middle, looking at them, right? And so they scream, and Rennie manages to get out of the back of the car and into the front of the driver's seat while Jason is killing this cop on the outside. And she decides she's going to drive it and get away. The only one of the 4 people here, she just got dosed up with heroin, and she's going to be the one to drive them away to safety.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That's a great point. This girl we just saw her get dosed like, probably, it's got to be about 5 minutes ago, maybe 10 minutes. And you're right, she's been running. So she's got a lot of blood pumping and circulating. So that's going through her good now. So she's got to be tripping. And they're like, you can drive the car. It's okay. You've just taken this weird street heroin. It's all right. And I'd also like to point something out too. This is Julius's head. Like it's got garbage on it. It looks like, I don't know, crap or something. Like it actually looks like poop on this or mud or something, like garbage juice or something. And it's just like, we just saw his head in the dumpster. So that means Jason, I guess he teleported down into the dumpster, took the head out, then went and stuck it in this car, like staged it in this guy's car, and just waited in this alleyway. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to get them so bad this time.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait. He's like rubbing his hands together. He's like, I can't wait till they get back and see this. This is going to be so much fun.
It's like he's Jamie Kennedy and he's got his own like punk show or something, but he murders people. That's the whole point of this. Like, ha ha, you've been X'd. And then he like stabs you or something. That's
so obviously, Rennie doesn't get very far with this car. She's just driving down the street, and then she hallucinates and sees Jason as a kid again, and swerves this car and like runs into a pole or something, and they all manage to get out except for Colleen. The car bursts into flames, and Colleen is dead. I feel like there was some kind of like a plot with Colleen that just got like X'd out of the movie or something, because this really didn't make any sense. Her as like a chaperone and like how much she like seemed to care about Tamara and stuff. She just kind of got wrote out of the movie like out of nowhere. And by the way, there's 4 people in this car. Not one of them could grab her. Like they were all like 40 feet away from the car when it exploded. And like they're like, oh, Colleen's not with us.
The funny thing is they both helped Rennie. So they're both just like, well, this other girl, I don't know, whatever, let's help her. And like, that was it. They left her just to die in this car. Like, you're right. Like, it's such an abrupt ending for this girl who is like supposed to be encouraging her. And like, she's supposed to be like a role model. She's a positive person in this girl's life. But that just happened. So Jason, God knows where he is right now, apparently. You know, we just saw him murder somebody 3 seconds ago. They just crashed his car. Now Rennie just has time to just have a vision. She just like stares into this like gasoline fire that's going on the ground near this wreckage or something. And we kind of go back now, and we're going to find out why she is afraid of water. She kind of has a flashback now, I guess. So basically what happens is she's like 8 years old. Maybe I'm going to guess at this point in time. She's very young, and she's at Crystal Lake, and she's somehow just sitting in this boat with her Uncle Charles, and this guy looks like he's in some sort of Gap commercial or something. Or
her Uncle Charles, the principal.
Yeah, and she's sitting in the boat with Principal Skinner here, and again, he just looks like he's, you know, in this like little knitting he's in this cardigan. He looks like Mr. Rogers. He's dressed like Mr. Rogers, okay? And he's basically explaining to her like, yeah, hey, you don't want to drown like that Voorhees boy, did you? And he's like, you're going to learn how to swim. And he just basically shoves her in the water.
Yeah, just tosses her in.
Yeah, which is very irresponsible. Like you could just like give her swimming lessons or buy her life jacket and like help her out. Like there's better ways to destroy people in the water. And I understand this is the 80s and people actually did do kind of stuff like this. Like I know people that this is how they got taught how to swim, but like this is pretty reckless, guys.
I don't think they did what he did, where he just like yelled at her. It's like, swim, come on, get it together, swim. But she's like half drowning. And while she's in the water, she sees Jason Voorhees as a little kid who is like, he's reaching for her and like holding her leg and holding her down. So she has this epiphany now that's why she has aquaphobia. And so now we're back to reality here in the present in New York. And she's staring down her Uncle Charles, the Principal Skinner here. And she's saying, it was you. You're the one. You threw me in the lake. That's why this happened. And he said, I just wanted you to swim. I thought it was the right thing to do. And then he says that he saved her life because he like saved her from swimming after he just threw her in there. He's so distraught. And then the other guy, Sean, walks over and shoves him into a garbage pile. And he's like, stay away from her. And I'm thinking like, is this the time to discuss this right now? Like, I don't want to minimize her trauma from being thrown in the lake and feeling like she was going to drown. But like, is this really important right now? Is that a big enough of a reveal in this movie right now to like ignore the fact that there's a killer after you and he's like killing all your friends? Do we really need to point fingers at who threw who in the water 20 years ago?
Well, I think it's hilarious that his defense is he's like, hey, come on, I saved your life. Even though he's like, I kind of put your life in danger there. You know, this is the whole reason your life was in trouble anyways, because like you pushed her in the water. But so you're right. So they storm off. Principal Skinner's laying on this like this pile of garbage or whatever. And all of a sudden Jason just snaps up. You see him walking towards Principal Skinner and you hear footsteps now. But all of a sudden they just hold the camera on Principal Skinner and he's like, no, it can't be you. And all of a sudden he just gets up and run away. But you're like, I just saw Jason. You just saw Jason walking towards him. They're in the same alleyway. Who do you think it is? It's not like it's some random second killer that we haven't seen this whole time. And it's not like they didn't show you who was killing everybody on the boat in the first place, right?
It's because he's just in that much denial. He doesn't believe that Jason's real, no matter what. And it makes no sense. So Principal Skinner gets up. He runs into the storefront. Okay, and the camera just kind of slowly pans up
to this window and we just kind of hold there for like a good couple steamboats. And all of a sudden, the principal just comes like flying through this glass now. And like apparently Jason's just thrown him through this window. Okay. And then all of a sudden Jason just comes downstairs. And then Jason picks him up and drowns him in like a vat of ooze or green water, whatever this disgusting toxic waste sludge is that is just hanging out around the city, apparently.
It's the same sludge that we saw in the very opening of the movie, like where that rat was like climbing in it. Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's like green water. It's like for whatever reason in this city, this is like Acme Chemical in Gotham or something. You're just hanging out behind there.
So after that, we see that Rennie is just relaxing on a couch right now, kind of like, mellowing with her heroin high, I guess.
Don't harsh my buzz, man.
Yeah, and Sean is like consoling her. And out of nowhere, they see Jason. So they take off and run. And finally, they do something right. And they're just like in public. So now they run into a subway station. They get on a subway car. And they feel pretty safe on the car. Until they look down and they see that Jason has also gotten on the subway train. So he chases them through the subway as they run to the very back. And then Sean pulls the emergency pull cord, I guess. And that seems to that slams on the brake of the subway, which I'm pretty sure, again, I've seen this happen in other movies. That doesn't work like that. But anyways, the brakes slam and they run out the back. Jason hops off of the back of the subway. So they're kind of like in the tunnel now. And Sean just kind of tackles Jason out of nowhere and Jason falls onto the track and proceeds to be like violently electrocuted. So we think he's dead, I guess. But it's funny, like, right after that, like Sean is sitting there and he's touching the same rail.
Oh yeah, you're very correct there, Tim. That's right. I think he would probably be lit up hard. Like if this guy's getting electrocuted on the rail, then I think he is too. Like he should be he's dead.
Yeah. So it kind of seems like the movie's over. They exit the subway station. They go up the stairs, and we're in Times Square, and we get like some soft music playing and stuff, and then they look back and Jason's at the top of the subway exit. So now he puts the chase to them again.
This is finally where Jason actually kind of takes Manhattan a bit. Do you get this really cool shot where they just sort of pan out and they just show you Times Square? And it's like in the 80s, man, that looks pretty cool. Like it was just bumping lively, all these cool signs everywhere. And just like this is like the one good shot in this entire movie. You just get to see everything. And again, like I said, there's two parts in this movie that I really just kind of watch this movie for every time. One is Julius getting his block knocked off. And then the second one here is these punks. Okay, these punks are just hanging out. They're like listening to like Dee Dee Ramone rap or something, another little ghetto blaster, hanging out. And Sean and Rennie run past them. And all of a sudden, Jason runs past them, okay? And Jason bumps into their boombox, just kicks this thing, just gives it a soccer punt, right? Breaks it. The one punk turns around. I love this. He turns around. He's like, "You dead meat slime bag." And he pulls out this little butterfly knife and starts flipping it around. And then Jason just turns around. And this is the best part of this movie. He pulls up the mask slowly and just shows them his face. Everyone's just like, okay, holy shit, we need to get out of here. And they just turn around and run away.
Yeah, they're like, "No problem, man, no problem," and run off.
Yeah, they're like, even for these punks in 1989 New York, they're like, this is too much. We're done here. We need to go. And Rennie and Sean are now running around and they go into a restaurant and they're like, "Hey, there's this maniac trying to kill us." This lady's like, "Hey, welcome to New York. This is just apparently what happens here on a regular basis."
That's just a regular day.
Yeah, and again, Jason just kicks down a door and it must be something that happens on a semi-regular basis because everybody just kind of just stands there and looks at it. They're like, "Oh, I mean, this is a regular."
Well, the chef comes out, and this guy, he is a big chef. He comes out, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Jason just, like, throws him across the counter and smashes into this mirror. They run out the back of this diner, and they're running away. Like, they're this close to Times Square. Where do they go? Well, they go in the sewer. Because I guess they want the Ninja Turtles to, like, save them or something. I don't know. It makes absolutely no sense of all the places you could run to while you would go down into a sewer. So they're running down here just, like, aimlessly until they bump into this construction worker. And he's like, "Hey, you guys want to go here? Because, in 10 minutes, this sewer system is going to get flooded with toxic waste. It happens every night at midnight," or something like that, right?
He's just a city worker who's just there for exposition, just to fill you in that there's apparently some toxic waste, as he calls it, that's going to show up at midnight. Apparently every night it floods the place. Like it just, I mean, I don't know how the sewers work, but
That sounds crazy to me.
yeah, they're right. This seems like just like first of all, what is toxic waste? Is it like actual like chemical stuff that can burn you or something? And it's really bad. Like it's like from some sort of crazy chemical plant, or is this just like a bunch of like poop water that's coming out of here? And it's just like everybody in New York at 12 o'clock, they all release their drains to their hotels and their condos and houses and stuff. And everyone, all just the crap water comes through at once. Is that what's supposed to be going on here? Like they don't really explain that.
Well, they do define it as being very corrosive.
Yeah, it's very toxic.
Yeah. No, not not long after that, as they're walking towards an exit, this construction worker is leading them to safety. Jason kind of just like hops out from around a corner and hits the guy with like an axe, I think. Axe or a wrench or something. So this construction worker is dead.
Oh yeah, he just wrenches him right to the head.
Yeah, and he's about to hit him in the head one more time before Rennie decides to turn on a flashlight and shine it at Jason. And she tells him basically like, you're never going to get me. You couldn't get me when I was young and you're not going to get me now. And then he's like, basically like, yeah, I will. He doesn't say that, but he just like keeps walking towards her. So she runs away. It's just completely pointless. So anyways, they're both running away and they finally find a ladder. Before they go up this ladder though, they find this little bucket of toxic waste.
Yeah, chemicals or something.
Yeah, it's mutagen or something, or it's a bucket of toxic waste. She throws it at Jason. It hits him in the face. His mask flies off, and now we see Jason's real face. And he looks just like the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, or like, you know, when you see like people make that standard classic jack-o'-lantern, that's kind of what his face looks like. So he makes this noise that's just like incredible. To me, this is like, it's so weird that maybe we just have to play you a clip of what this thing is.
Yeah. Like what is that noise?
I don't know. I don't know what that was. It sounded like a walrus or something.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned that it sounds just like an elephant to me.
Once they hit the Phantom of the Opera here with this like chemical stuff, he just like stumbles around and just takes forever. Like he's like, they go down like 50 corridors, okay? And he's just stumbling around real slowly. But then like he just again shows up at the bottom of their feet. And so maybe you can make some sense out of what happens here now, because now I guess now it's midnight, and all of a sudden this poo-poo water or whatever this is comes flying at them, and he sees that water and he makes that weird like elephant noise again, like they're, and then a bunch of water just like barfs out of his mouth, and then he gets hit, and all of a sudden it's like acid or something because it like melts his face, and this like puppet thing starts like melting away, and like what the hell are we watching?
It's very weird. It reminds me of when the Wicked Witch from the Wizard of Oz died for some reason. Like when she's like melting, I'm melting.
Oh, what a world!
He doesn't really make any noises except for like, you know, those elephant noises and some weird grunts and stuff. And it seems like he's dead, but he kind of just like rises out of the water one more time to grab them. And as that's happening, we see flashbacks of when he was a child drowning. And then there's like a lot of fire mixed in. And then it's over. We hear like some thunder and lightning. And we look down in the water because I guess it's just being rinsed off with water now. Like the toxic flood has stopped. And there's Jason there as a little boy.
In his underwear. His little tidy whities. They have a little kid in his underwear laying at the bottom of this ladder.
Yeah, and Sean sees him too. So it's not just Rennie hallucinating, it's Sean. So like I can't explain this. There's nothing I read anywhere that explained why this makes sense at all.
They kind of just wait for this water to leave or something, and they're all of a sudden just kind of out on the street now, and it's coming up to daylight.
Yeah, and we get our awesome song leading us out, the darkest side of the night, and their dog comes back too.
Little good boy Toby, oh little doggy boy.
Super cool, you know, happy ending. The dog's all right. And these two are just like, they're very happy. They're relieved that they're finally in New York. Safe Grad is about to start. and they're going to have a great weekend.
That's right. And then we're just going to fade out. That's it.
Yeah. And that was Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. I don't feel like Jason really took Manhattan.
Yeah, I feel like he had a brief, a brief tour of Manhattan, you could say, mostly of the underground, some of the restaurants there. But yeah, like it wasn't really like a lot of the back alleys too. It was kind of the underbelly.
Yeah, like the only recognizable thing was Times Square.
Yeah, you're like Jason spends 20 minutes in Manhattan. That's kind of a better. I think Jason Takes a Boat. You're probably more correct with. I think that's a better title for this movie.
It's a really odd twist on the whole franchise. I guess after you're at Part 7, you gotta try and reach somewhere to try and be creative. So they go with New York.
I did read once upon a time that there was a script out there that they wanted to make a Friday the 13th movie in the wintertime. And I always thought that was like a really cool idea.
That's an excellent idea.
Right? Like, why has no one done that? Like, set the campers up there in the middle of the wintertime. Like, let's see that Friday the 13th. That would be a really cool movie, And unfortunately, the series is tied up in a bunch of lawsuits between the creator and I can't remember, one of the writers or one of the producers or something, right? Like, so this is just tied up in litigation, and I don't think this is ever really going to end anytime soon. So, I mean, it really kind of sucks that it doesn't seem like we're really going to get anything new anytime soon,
No, I wouldn't count on it.
No, it sucks. So, I mean, you just got these movies to go with and the remake, which I didn't think was that bad. The characters are highly unlikable. There's a lot of very cringy parts in that movie, but, overall, it's not bad.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that movie. But I did end up enjoying this one a lot more than I thought I would, like especially in comparison to the other movies. The whole New York thing was really cool. Like, I gotta say, I really didn't care for the majority of the movie, but once they got to New York, for me, that's when it really picked up. And it's actually really cool watching Jason kind of run through subways and just, you kind of get to see him completely out of the element. I mean, granted, we just got to see him on a boat, but that boat trip was way too long. Like, I would have much rather see the entire movie take place in Manhattan. Like, he should have got to Manhattan within the first 20 minutes. And I think this movie also kind of stands out because it's kind of like, in the franchise, it's one of the last ones where it was popular enough that it's still like Jason Voorhees and the Friday the 13th name still had like a massive group of fans. Like, it had a lot of fanfare. But the studios still really didn't care enough to like really be like, don't do this, don't do this. They still had the freedom to like, okay, let's go to Manhattan. Let's do this. Like, let's do these kind of things. And, he eventually went to space, which is the trope of every bad franchise. Once you go into space, you need to rethink. And that's why we didn't get another Friday the 13th sequel for like almost a decade, right? So this movie stands out in that way. Like, I think it's cool. I admire that they at least went somewheres with it. I'm glad they didn't take it to space. I'm happy they went to New York. I just wish it would have been in more in New York.
Yeah, I guess so. Personally, I like Crystal Lake, like I said. For whatever reason, I'm just a sucker for like this whole like summer vibe out in the middle of nowhere. Like Erin from The Office, she said something that I thought was pretty funny, which I kind of agree with. It's like, I always kind of like the first like 30 minutes of the horror movie where everyone's just having a lot of fun. And like, so it's just like, I'm a sucker for the whole aesthetic of the cabin in the woods kind of thing. And it's like a camp. And so like, personally, I really like that. When you take the character out of that, it's just like, to me, it's sort of disrespecting the fan base a bit. And I get that. It's like, we're okay. Like, we're done with the camp. We want to take this somewhere else. But like, there could be other parts of this camp that you've never seen before too, right? Like, maybe he's got something way out in the woods that's like a secret little hideout that he's got where he's been burying bodies, or like, like they're starting to build a town next to it or something like that, and people like stay out of there. Or there's like, like a waterfall. There could be like cool stuff going on, like a cave system that like we could explore some more, that they could just put some extra thought into to making something else other than just another, by the numbers kind of slasher. But again, like we said at the beginning, this has become like sort of like at this point, this was like a factory sort of process where it's like, here's a movie, we put this out, we're going to wait a year or two, we're going to film the next one, here, put this out, So it's just very cynically made which is, kind of unfortunate because we didn't realize what kind of gold we had at the time. Like, come on, we could have made these great Friday the 13th movies. It's so fun. And then everyone just had to go and start suing each other for money like this. I just like in the end, unfortunately, the fans always lose. That's life.
At least we got to see New York for a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I do think this is a fun one. This is definitely not, like I said, not the worst Friday the 13th movie. It's not the best, but it is a fun one. And like this is kind of a mindless watch because you can just like I usually just watch the start. I tune out for the middle part, and then I usually wake up when they're in New York, and I'm like, oh yeah, let's watch the punks again, and let's watch them knock the guy's head off. That's awesome. Like I love that stuff. So I get like again this Halloween you're looking for something fun to listen to or watch. This, something mindless, this might be another good recommendation, just like the Leprechaun, where it's like you want to put something on and you want to laugh every so often or be like, what the hell's going on? This is a movie. This is another movie that you could do this to.
Yeah. If you're a fan of New York, for whatever reason, maybe you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah, or just like, 80s slashers or just Friday the 13th, you know what I mean? Because like, I think this is like, it's got to be up there. Like if there was like a big four for slashers, like if you're talking like, like horror movie like icons or whatever, I gotta imagine it's Jason and Freddy, Michael and Leatherface.
They all probably have the most sequels of any horror franchise.
Yeah, especially those Texas Chainsaw Massacre ones. So some of those, like hey, we sit here and we laugh at some of these Friday the 13th sequels, being like some of these are wacky, but like my God, some of those Texas Chainsaw sequels got nutty. Like they went to just different places. They really explored Leatherface.
Yeah, Yeah, they had their sights much bigger than New York. They're really going outside the box.
Yeah, they even got Matthew McConaughey on that one. So, yeah. So anyways, maybe we'll leave it there. We'll wrap it up right there. Put a bow on it. And we hope you guys have a fantastic Halloween. Check your candy out there and just enjoy yourself, whatever you're doing this year. Stay safe and stay spooky, I guess.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
So that's it for Tim and I on this episode. Just a quick little note before we go. We are actually going to be taking the month of November off from the podcast, unfortunately, but not to fear. We're coming back in December just in time for Christmas, and we're going to drop 2 more episodes for you there. We're just going to be using the month here to just, again, take some time, record some episodes, prep for Christmas, and as well just prep for shows in the new year and just come out of the gate really strong in 2022. And we have got some absolute gems lined up. So I cannot wait to start doing some more recording. Happy Halloween, guys. Stay safe. And we're going to let the DJ from New York take you out on this one.
You can't get the adrenaline pumping without the terror, good people. I love this town.